Ba-da ba-da ba ba-da-ba ba-da-ba ba-da ba-da-ba ba-da-boo. Hello everybody, it's Anon, back with another video. In today's video, we're going to talk about connections amongst art, specifically religious art in the West. So starting off, we have the Palette of King Narmer. It's in Egypt. Basically, you have King Narmer to the left. The artwork is a palette. So this would be used to have like dyes and stuff mixed. You can see the kind of on the right you see the where like the mystical beast head connect. That's kind of the place that they would grind up the dyes and stuff, but it's super decorated and carved to show Narmer as like super cool and strong. And at this time, I think two things we want to note in this artwork. First of all, it's carved, and second, the religious aspects to it are very involved in to support the political hierarchy, right? King Narmer of Egypt is shown as like receiving, here you see Horus giving a this sandal to King Narmer, and he's defeating his foes. King Narmer is a man of God, but in a way that gives him power and gives him authority. This will change later on. To make a connection with that is obviously the Lamassu. This would have been in the Assyrian Empire, specifically the from the citadel of King Sargon II. And again, you see the religious aspects of this culture, and you see sculpture again, but the religious aspects of the sculpture of the artwork directly supporting the political elite at the time, which would have been the Assyrian Empire. Um, some phenotypes that support this is the Assyrian sort of beard and the general like where these would be located. These are actually like really big sculptures that would have been located in the Assyrian cities entrances. So anybody who would come in would be basically kind of scared, or would be intimidated. That's the word, by these sculptures and by the Assyrian Empire. So next we have the Pergamon. We have the Pergamon altar, and again you see this thing where this depicts, it's obviously in Pergamon, which is in sort of Western Turkey, modern day Turkey then, but obviously this at the time would have been Greek civilization, and this commemorates a battle won by the king of Pergamon against the Gauls at the time, and also the Persians. But again, it's this sort of, but it literally shows the Greek gods, which I think is Ares on the left, fighting against the giants, right, and winning, and using nature to fight against the giants and winning. And so there's this direct mirror between the religious aspects of the art and the political structure that it supports. If we move on, this is kind of like a transitory thing. So here we have the Vienna Genesis. This is one of the earliest Bibles that have survived, and it was made right between the time of sort of Christianization in the Western world. So you see here a depiction of a biblical story. Isaac is sending Eliezer, I think, who is a servant to find. Abraham is sending Eliezer to find Isaac, his son, a wife, and so he's traveling the land, and at a time when Eliezer says to God, like, oh, I hope, help me find a wife for Isaac, and God helps him by, this is Rebecca here, and Rebecca helps, is introduced to Isaac, and so on. But obviously on the left, you see this very pagan depiction of a almost river goddess, right? She is nude, very different than the sort of modestly dressed women who have their head covered and stuff. And so this is a depiction of sort of religion, right? But it's much more commonplace and much more in the common life, and has less to do with the political authority of the empire of the thing. And you can see here that there's this almost transitory period in this artwork, which will be displayed later on. And so the one that really highlights this point is Caravaggio's Calling of Saint Matthew, Here we see Jesus, who's shown on the right, pointing at Saint Matthew, who later became a saint. But Matthew was like a tax collector, and Jesus basically calls him and says, "You have to follow him, follow me." And you can see here like Matthew's very confused, and the dramatic lighting and stuff. But what's really important about this painting is that the people who are depicted look like average, Italians, right? This was painted by Caravaggio, an Italian painter, in Italy. And so, and also the dress style, right, is very common it would have been common to the people, to the Italians that would have looked at this. And so it's very much putting religion uh, in a personal sense and trying to make religion relate to the personal in a way that previous religious arts did not. There's obviously still a connection there with religiosity and stuff, but the personal and the commonplace and the lack of political motivation is shown more. Now, a little bit of a counterpoint here is the Virgin of Guadalupe by Miguel Gonzalez. This one, although there is a little bit more commonality to it, obviously glorifies the Virgin of Guadalupe in a very similar sense to the Lamassu and the other pagan artworks that was seen before. But even this, although it has a very political connotation in terms of Mexican nationality and Mexican uniqueness in the Spanish Empire, it still shows. It still has a sort of common touch. If you look at the bottom left, you see the person who would first find the Virgin of Guadalupe, the vision that would first come to this person there, who is a Nahuatl, an ethnic Nahuatl man who was part of the Spanish Empire and who is a traditional man. And so even in this place, there's an attempt to make religion sort of down to earth and common to the masses in a way that previous religious art wasn't made to do. Whereas previous religious art was much more about um, glorifying the elite and showing their legitimacy. And then, so our final work here is The Crossing by Bill Viola. This is a very contemporary work, so it's much, much more, um, uh, newer, but it kind of follows this trend of personalizing the art and kind of removing any political connotations from it that we've seen. Um, because this art is very in the Western tradition. Because this art is literally just Bill Viola going in. It's a recording of him being kind of engulfed by flames or engulfed by water. Both different sides of the same video. Um, and there's a like you're kind of meant to kind of see yourself in Bill Viola, but it's much more spiritual and sort of there is no like organized religion or anything related to it, so it's much more um, commonplace, and it's kind of the full manifestation of this trend that this video is kind of following through these artworks. So yeah, that's going to be about it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like and subscribe. Okay, bye bye.